Hello Summoners, Matthew from the Nintendo Treehouse here with some quick tips for the Fire Emblem Heroes game. Have you ever wondered what would happen if the person keeping you from your darker tendencies was absent? Or worse yet, the person beside you drove you straight into that darkness? These fallen heroes are the result of such unfortunate circumstances. For example, Edelgard, with no one to help her evolve her ideals, became a victim of them, and the power she had forced within her body transformed her into something other than human. In Fire Emblem Heroes, this Hegemon Husk is a powerful armored beast that can tear through her foes with the power of her twin crests. Her high defensive stats, combined with the potential to take 2 actions in a single turn, allows her to take on groups of foes alone. Her weapon, Twin Crest Power, can lower the attack and defense of her foe in combat, while also preventing their follow-up attacks if her HP is 25% or more. If she initiates combat while transformed and meets the HP threshold, she is granted another action after combat. Her other unique skill, Armored Wall, grants a special cooldown charge to herself while reversing the cooldown charge of her foe if the HP threshold is met. Although she is a slow unit, this enables her quicker access to Bonfire, triggering for massive damage. Armored Wall has the same HP condition as her weapon, but also heals 7 HP after combat. With this benefit, Edelgard should have a fairly easy time meeting the HP condition as long as she survives battle. If she is also transformed while at 25% HP or over, the skill also reduces the damage of her first hit she takes each turn. These 2 skills working together with her high defensive stats make her extremely difficult to kill. Although she is an armored unit, she has Armored Stride, which allows her to move 2 spaces as long as she's alone at the start of a turn. And her A skill, Attack Defense Ideal, can give her an extra boost to her attack and defense when she is at full HP or has bonuses, and another small increase if she has both. For Seals, I might suggest Attack Smoke, so that she can move into a group of foes and then survive an assault on the enemy turn if she can't defeat them all in one go. It's best to keep her transformed throughout the battle, so she will probably work best with dragons or other beast allies. Transformed, she becomes a wall that is very difficult for foes to overcome. Next up is Dimitri, with his heart now burning with revenge toward a certain woman. Can anyone stop him from his murderous tendencies as he seeks to achieve it? The Savage Boar is strongest on his own and has movement options that can really make him versatile. His aptly named Vengeful Lance not only gives him boost to attack and speed during combat when he's alone, but if he can't perform a follow-up attack and the foe's defense is lower than Dimitri's high attack, Dimitri can add 50% of the difference to the damage he deals to make up for only being able to attack once. For example, if Dimitri initiates combat with no allies next to him, he gets a total of plus 13 to attack and speed, and punishes a foe's speed and defense by -3 when you combine the effects of his weapon, Attack Speed Solo 4, and Murderous Lion. That's a tough mountain of stats for any foe to overcome. Also, speaking of Murderous Lion, this skill also gives Dimitri Canto with extra movement. In other words, Dimitri can move away from his foes after combat with the remainder of his base movement limit, plus another space. This can further be utilized on odd turns, since Odd Tempest as a C skill adds another space to his movement. Finally, his special Glimmer will trigger often since it has a low cooldown and will help Dimitri deal even more damage. I might suggest giving him Attack Speed Solo as a seal to make him even scarier alone. And, since he doesn't play well with allies, he can be put to good use on almost any team. Next up, we have the Morgans, but something seems off. While in some timelines, Morgan has Robin's guidance, in others, Grima has taken these 2 on a much different path. Although they have different goals, strategy is still a key strength of these 2. They can both widen the gap between their strengths and their opponent's weaknesses and use that situation to their advantage. Male Morgan excels in magic attack and resistance. If the HP threshold of 25% or more is met, he can weaken a foe's attack and resistance with his weapon, Tome of Despair. Also, depending on how large the gap between his stat bonuses and his foe's weaknesses are, he can potentially stop a foe's follow-up, make a guaranteed follow-up of his own, and inflict a special cooldown charge of -1 on the foe, He has other skills that set him up to help trigger all of these effects. Attack Res Menace adds 6 to his attack and resistance, while decreasing his nearest foe's attack and resistance within 4 spaces by 6, and his B-skill Sabotage Defense can soften up the physical defense of foes with low resistance when they are next to other foes. This widens the stat gap for his weapon, and can support Morgan's allies that dole out physical damage. Also, although it does not count towards triggering his weapon's effects, Attack Res Solo can increase those stats by 7 each during combat as long as he is alone. If he can reach a gap of 15 or more between his stat bonuses and the foe's penalties, and receives all benefits of his weapon, his target won't likely survive the encounter. I would suggest giving him the Even Defense Wave Seal to further widen the stat gap between him and his foe on even turns, while also increasing a stat that his other skills don't affect. The female version of Morgan plays similarly, with a few important differences. She is a flying unit with an axe, instead of being an infantry magic user. She also boosts a stronger defense over resistance, so her skill set focuses on widening the stat gap between attack and defense, instead of attack and resistance. Although this is the main difference in her skill set, her B skill is Dive Bomb. If both her HP and her foe's HP are at 80% or above, she can follow up her initial attack before her foe can even counter. This enables her to pick off foes without giving them any chance to damage her. Other than movement seals that could benefit assault options for your team, I might suggest Even Res Wave to help boost her decent resistance and help trigger the effects of her weapon on even turns. The two Dark Morgans can work really well together on a team, and can also benefit from other allies that can further weaken enemy stats. These fallen heroes didn't receive the guidance they needed to become forces of good, but the power they honed in the darkness can now be used to benefit you and your army. Also, don't miss the Grand Hero battle against Orson, Passion's Folly. I hear Orson is quite protective of his beloved dead wife, so be on your guard. Well, that's all for today's summoners. Good luck!